Hey everybody, Rob here at etrailer.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Roadmaster Crossbar-Style base plate on our 2012 Fiat 500. Now our base plate is going to be the actual attachment point on our Fiat so we can safely flat tow it behind our motorhome. The whole reason why we want to take our vehicle with us is so we can have a little bit of convenience. We get to the campgrounds or wherever we're going, and it's much easier to drive a Fiat around rather than trying to take a motorhome just to go to the gas station or maybe we want to go out to dinner. Now the Roadmaster base plate is called a crossbar style because it uses this quick disconnect crossbar so that it can actually have the base plate hook up right to these pins. Now the quick disconnect does not come with the base plate, but it is going to be needed to hook up. Now you can either find it separately, or depending on which tow bar you get, it will come with the tow bar. Now like most base plates, they are going to have a spot for your safety chain attachment points, but as you can see they're pretty far back, they're a little low, but that's why they give us these quick links and these extension cables so we can easily hook up our safety cables on our tow bar and not have to worry about coming in so far or potentially scratching our car. Now whenever we're not towing, I suggest that you either take a zip tie and you want to tie this somewhere off, or you can loosen up the quick disconnect right here at the base plate and pull it off, because we really don't want this dangling, potentially scratching the bottom of our car. And that brings up something else. Whenever we're not towing, this is quite a bit that's hanging out in the front of our car. It definitely changes the look. But whenever we're not towing, we do have the option of removing the quick disconnect bar. Just pull the two top pins. Then we can grab the bar, lift it off, and then that leaves us with the arms right here. Well, we still have the option of, we can rotate the arms, pull the arms out, and now our Fiat has a much cleaner look on the front. We don't have those arms sticking out. And you saw it's a very quick, easy process. So whenever we do want to tow, it's just a reverse of that. Put the arms in, slide them into place, rotate them until they lock in. Then we just simply put the bar back on and we're ready to hook up. Now a big part of when you're looking for a base plate and looking at all the components to flat tow your Fiat is going to be the compatibility of the base plate. Because we need to make sure that our base plate is going to be compatible with whatever tow bar we choose. And our Roadmaster base plate here is going to be compatible with all Roadmaster motorhome mounted tow bars. So those are going to be the tow bars that slide directly into the receiver tube on the motorhome and don't require any kind of ball mount or coupler or anything like that. Now it is going to be compatible with some other brands of tow bars, but it may require an adapter. Now when you're comparing this base plate to some of the other options available, there are a few other ones, but you do need to keep in mind, double check your owner's manual and make sure that your version of this Fiat 500 is flat towable. But I really like the Roadmaster version. Not that there's a huge difference between each one. They're all going to install very similarly and pretty much have the same cutout coming out of the lower grille. I just prefer Roadmaster because, again, I really like their tow bars and a few of the other components. So when you're looking at a base plate, again, a big factor is going to be what you're going to be using it with and the compatibility of it. But speaking of installation, it's actually a pretty straightforward process. We are going to have to remove the front fascia, which I know a lot of customers can get a little nervous about, but rest assured there's no special tools required. Definitely something you can do at home in your garage. And fortunately, there's no cutting or drilling on the frame or any other components like that. We are going to have to do some minor trimming so that we can have the arms come out of the lower grille, but that's about the biggest amount of cutting we're going to have to do. In fact, let's go ahead and bring our Fiat in the shop and go through the installation process together so you can have the confidence to do it at home. To begin our installation, we want to open up the hood on our 500, and then if we look right at the edge of the fascia where it starts the paint, we're going to have 4 Torx screws that we're going to have to pull out. We're going to grab a T30 Torx bit, and we'll pull all 4 of those out. Now if we move underneath the front, right underneath the fascia, we're going to have 3 more Torx screws that are holding the bottom in place. So we'll take that T30 Torx bit and pull all 3 of those out. Now at the corner of the fascia, on the front, just in front of the front tire, we're going to have a Phillips screw on each side that's holding the fascia to the wheel well liner. So we'll take a Phillips screwdriver or a bit and pull it out. Now we are going to have one on the other side, so we'll pull that out as well. Now if we move to the front wheel well right in front of our tire and we come to the inside edge, we're going to have a total of 3 Phillips screws that we're going to have to remove. A few of them are a little bit on the inside of the liner, so you may have to kind of reach in and feel for them. And since it's such limited space, you can turn the tire to get out of the way, or you can use a driver like this and pull those screws out. Now we are going to have 3 of these on the other side of the wheel well as well, so we're going to continue pulling these 2 out, then move over to the driver's side and pull those out. Once you have all 3 screws removed, I'm going to grab the liner, kind of peel it back a little bit, at least to where the fender meets the fascia, because if we look in the corner here, there's actually another T30 Torx bit that's going up. We need to remove that. So I'll grab that same T30 Torx bit and pull that screw out. It's a little bit of a tight fit, but should be able to get your socket in there. And pull it out. Now if yours is spinning like ours is, it's not loosening up, there's actually a nut that's on top. It's extremely hard to see, but we can get a 9mm wrench in there just to hold it enough and break that bolt loose, and then we can pull it out. Now we're going to have one of these bolts on each side, so we want to go ahead and take our wrench, because most likely the other one is going to be stripped out as well, but we're going to pull both of these out. Now we do have this light at the end of the reflector here, and if we look inside the wheel well, we can find the wiring that's attached to it. Now on the top you should have a tab, so we'll just squeeze down on that tab and pull away so that we can disconnect the connector, so we don't have to worry about that connection when we go to pull our fascia off. Now if we pull the liner back a little bit as far as we can and we look inside, we're going to have a green connector. That's going to be for our turn signals, so we want to disconnect that as well. You reach in and press on the tab, and we can disconnect that. It's a small tab right here. You want to make sure you disconnect both sides so we're not pulling on the wiring when we pull the fascia off. Now at this point we can get ready to pull our fascia off. You want to start at the corner where the fender meets the fascia, and we're going to start pulling away. It's going to release some clips. We want to work our way at least to the center from each side. Then what I like to do, just to make sure it's not going to fall, I'll go ahead and put one screw just hand tight in the center here. That way we can break both sides loose, but it won't fall off. We can remove that screw. We'll kind of grab the center, lift up a little bit, and we can set the fascia aside where it's not going to get damaged. Now with the fascia removed, it'll expose our bumper beam. It's held on by 4 bolts on each side. You want to grab a 15mm socket and pull all 4 of those out. And we're also going to have a nut that's holding our bumper beam in place. Now you can see ours is pretty rusted, so I'm going to spray a little bit of penetrating oil on there. Hopefully it'll prevent it from breaking or snapping off. Then we can grab a 10mm socket and we're going to pull that nut off. You do want to make sure you have a firm grip on the bumper beam once you get the last one off, because that's the only thing that's holding the bumper in place right now. Once both of them are removed, grab our bumper beam, and we can take it off and set it aside for right now. So at this point we want to grab our base plate. We're going to line up the holes that are on the frame. And for now, we just want to get at least one bolt just temporarily holding the base plate in place. So we'll grab a couple of the factory bolts and put one on each side. Now the reason why I said temporarily is because we want to make sure we put Loctite on all of our bolts that we're using. So I'm going to put a small bead on the threads, and then we can put them back into the factory holes, hand tight for now. And once we have that one in, we want to make sure we remove the first one we put in and put some Loctite on that, and then we're going to replace all the factory bolts, making sure we put a little bit of Loctite on each one. And once you have all your bolts in place with the Loctite on them, we can go ahead and snug them up using that same 15mm socket. Now you want to make sure you come back with a torque wrench and torque all your hardware down to the specified amount in the instructions. So we'll go back and repeat this for all the remaining hardware that we have. Now at this point, we can get ready to put the fascia back on. There's a little bit of trimming that we have to do so that the receiver brace can come through. However, we're going to be adding all the rest of our flat toe components in because it's a lot easier to route everything and kind of zip tie everything to the base plate now rather than trying to contend with the fascia. So we're going to go ahead and run all our wires, but we'll definitely make sure we show you how we trimmed everything and how to get the fascia back in place. So now that we have all of our components in place, I'm going to loosely take the fascia. Now it's not going to completely fit back because of the components we have down here, but I'm going to get it lined up and again use one screw up top so it won't fall down. Just to loosely get it in place, and then we can actually use our base plate and all your other components to trim out so the fascia can go back into place. So here we have our breakaway switch, which really is causing the most issue because it sticks out the farthest. So I'm just going to take a pair of cutters and I'm going to cut the honeycomb of the grill here till we have an opening and we can push the fascia past the breakaway switch. And once we have that piece cut out, we can get the fascia pushed in and make any additional trimming we need to for the arms to go in place, and make sure that our wiring and any other components will fit through. Because you can see that the arms actually aren't going to, the base plate's not going to interfere without the arms in place, so we can actually get the base plate in before we cut those. That way we can minimize the amount of cutting we have to do. We only need to cut enough so that we can get the arm in and it doesn't interfere. So I'm just going to go through and trim off any bit of the grill that's interfering with anything. And again, right now, the main thing that's really interfering is this breakaway switch here. Now that the fascia is trimmed and we can get it all the way on, we can replace all the fasteners that we took out earlier. And don't forget to plug the lights back in behind the liner here before you put the liner back in place. And then we can kind of pull the fender out a little bit, get the liner lined up, and we can put the screws back in place. Once you have all the bolts back in place, that'll finish up your installation of the Roadmaster Crossbar-Style base plate on our 2012 Fiat 500.